The National Party's true colours, they are so blue, they're black. And Kiwis are getting dark on them, and we'll find out next year.
Sorry, I call Catherine Delahunty.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. Thank you very much. I'm honoured to speak for the Green Party and to be voting against the bill. It is very important that the Green Party stands here today and votes against this bill. And I'd like to honour all the people who struggle on the benefit, because the benefit itself has now become a fraud. The benefit once was truly a safety net, but now people cannot live on it. We can live on our comfortable wages, Mr Speaker, but many, many people out there cannot live on what they're receiving on the benefit. And if they could get a job, they would, because who wants to be stigmatised? Who wants to be investigated? Who wants to be humiliated? It is no fun to stand and work an income and receive that treatment. A number of us, I'd also like to acknowledge the beneficiary advocates, a group of people who are dwindling in the recession, and they have pointed out to me that what happens in a recession every time, many of them veterans of the system, every time there's a recession, there are bills passed through this Parliament to increase the pressure and scapegoating on the vulnerable. It's a great system. Of course they're not going to go after tax dodgers. That's hard work. They've got lawyers. But I tell you what, I'm sorry, Mr Speaker, not you. I will tell the House my own experience of working with the benefit fraud team. There is already a system of investigating benefit fraud, and it's not very pleasant, because what it does is it picks on the large percentage of people who either didn't realise they'd created a debt or are in trouble for various reasons, the department, and it investigates them secretly now. And it creates an incredibly punitive regime. I have sat in meetings with young parents who didn't know that they had to prove they were the parent because the department decided that they weren't really with their child enough, and they were going to go to court and possibly go to jail. A lot of young women who are in prison are young women who have been done for benefit fraud. So their kids are really benefiting from this punitive system now, and this bill is going to make it worse. We do salute the part of the bill that will require more responsibility from partners, so I think some of it's going to be an enormous waste of money. Some people will get work out of it. There may be some more jobs in the benefit fraud unit, but I can't actually see it being very effective to try and squeeze more blood out of the vulnerable stones at the bottom of our society, which is what this bill is about. So how do you get a $5,000 penalty against people who already don't have any money? Against people from whom English is a second language and have come to the benefit fraud agency, the benefit support agencies I've been part of, saying they don't know what WINS are telling them and they're not sure what they're entitled to. Then often we find out they haven't got their basic entitlement, but they are being accused of fraud for various reasons beyond their control. So there's the super vulnerable people at the bottom, and we're seeing increasingly mental health survivors become a part of the investigation of fraud, which is what this bill will target. So let's get on to those mental health survivors. Let's put them through the system. Let's investigate them. Let's threaten them with fraud, and let's see how much money we can squeeze out of them. Not very much money, and not very much human dignity, and not much respect. I sat with a benefit fraud investigator one day, and she said to a woman, "How many times have you had sex with your neighbour? Don't you diary your sex life?" And there was no shame in talking to beneficiaries like this. No shame whatsoever. I said to the benefit fraud investigator, "Do you diary your sex life?" And guess what? She didn't. But it's okay to talk to those people like that, because they're at the bottom, because they've got issues, because they are not justified like the tax people. They're the bad people, and we can treat them like dirt because the dirt is how we treat them. But that does not work. It doesn't work for recovering money. It doesn't work for inspiring people to do better. It doesn't create jobs, and it doesn't protect people's human rights. Now, one of the reasons this is a bad bill is the fact that it doesn't acknowledge that out there in the community, some people are trying to get our human right to a decent income and food for our kids, even if we're in debt. It doesn't allow that. The ministry will decide what is reasonable, and the ministry will fail, because the ministry is failing now. We need to go back to the first principles of the Social Security Act. Much like ACC, when we've abandoned the Woodhouse principles, we should go back to the fundamental principles about protecting people. And wasting money like this on creating more and more squads of people to investigate more and more other people when it's a small percentage of genuine rip-off merchants is a shame and a disgrace. Let's review the system. Let's do it properly rather than base it on punishment. Mr Speaker, we are very proud to oppose this bill.
I call Mike Sabin.
Sir, I'm pleased to take the last call on another very good